Der Untertitel ist jetzt verbuggt.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, vorhin hatte sich wirklich der Text verändert. Ich habe gerade nichts getan.
Stanley came to a set of two open doors.
Wir müssen jetzt noch einmal rechts und dann Dings. Und dann geradeaus gehen. Das haben wir nämlich noch nicht gemacht. Das machen wir jetzt noch und dann werde ich tatsächlich Pause machen, weil ich langsam... Ja, ich glaube langsam gehen da die Sprüche aus. Langsam werde ich Brain confused und das ist scheiße, was wir noch spielen.
Walked straight ahead to the opposite door and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an up. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Wir gehen runter. Bist du ein Knopf? Nein, du bist kein Knopf.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Oh, yeah, jetzt geht's los.
These rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up.
Ich fühle mich so ein bisschen an die Windows 98 Starfield Bildschirmschoner erinnert.
The strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange.
Geil!
I'm dreaming about a voice
Inception.
me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of the world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way
Oh,
it's
wir haben
always
was vergessen. Fällt mir gerade
been. My
auf.
life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Ich habe das Telefon vergessen. Fällt mir gerade auf. Shit. Wir sind aber immer noch hier.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real.
Alter.
Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I?
Where am
And it went black.
What? Oh. And the loading screen
This is
appeared.
the story of a woman named Mariella.
Alles klar.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking
What
and
the
screaming
fuck?
to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment,
Ja,
she thought
natürlich.
to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am
Alles
safe.
klar.
I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't.
Dieses Spiel.
It was comforting
ist
to think this.
geil.
And in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Ist das jetzt eine versteckte, nicht versteckte Gesellschaftskritik? Ohne Scheiß. Und es geht weiter. Wir lernen immer mehr über uns.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Ja, das wäre langsam echt schick. Warum liegen es hier überall Papiere auf dem Boden?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Komm, wir machen mal wieder mit. Ich glaube, das ist einfach nur ab und zu, dass er dann so, dass es so ein paar Easter Eggs gibt. Ja, bla bla bla. Hier
Yet
ist
there was
niemand.
not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief,
Upsa.
Stanley decided to go up to his
Den müssen wir auch
boss's
noch durch.
office. Hoping he might find an coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Wir machen mal mit.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay
2845, ich
buried
hab den
below
Code
his
vergessen.
feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing full well the sheer statistical unlikelihood that this would ever result in a correct combination.
So.
If he knew that the combo was 2845, it would be another story entirely. But no, this is what he was going to do instead.
Wir bringen mal den so mal wahnsinnig, ne?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Ich möchte wissen, wie weit wir das ganze Spielchen hier
2845.
machen können. Ob er irgendwann einfach selber die Kombination eingibt?
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Ich stelle mich noch doofer an. Ich möchte wissen, wie lange das dauert, bis da wieder was kommt. Oder ob da überhaupt noch was kommt. Ich glaube, da kommt nichts mehr. Schade. Bla, den Teil kennen wir. Was machen wir jetzt? Was machen wir jetzt unten? Wir folgen mal der Story und drücken auf Mind Control Facility On. Wäre mein Vorschlag.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Bla bla blub. Nicht geht an.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Kennen wir alles. Und es werde CCTV on.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Aber natürlich. Warum sollte es anders sein? Ist es nicht in jeder Firma so?
His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Ja. Auf jeden Fall. Kontrolle über mein Leben.
I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode.
Alter, jetzt geht's aber ab.
Complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say,
Wir funktionieren nicht mehr.
Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going. What all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is?
Ach du Scheiße, jetzt wird er dämonisch.
You're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy.
Ach du Scheiße.
You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment
Was ist denn der Passcode?
until the moment I say happily ever after.
Kann man hier überhaupt einen Passcode eingeben? Das wäre jetzt mal eine Frage an die Community. Kann man an dieser Stelle einen Passcode eingeben?